Pasta fagioli, panissa, ribollita, frantoiana, pisare e faiseux, cicere e tria, fave e cicoria. There are countless traditional recipes that include legumes among their ingredients. There are several reasons for the success of these vegetables. Certainly, among the main ones is the ease with which they can be stored. Once they have been dried, beans, chickpeas, and lentils can stay in the pantry for months without needing special attention. Then there is the nutritional aspect. Legumes are a rich source of inexpensive, readily available protein and carbohydrates. Imagine that only 60 years ago, it was easier to cultivate, harvest, and dry beans than it was to breed, slaughter, and process meat on the same land. Ease of cooking also certainly played a role. Most traditional recipes involve nothing more than putting the legumes in a pan with a little bit of water, fat, and herbs, and letting them cook over low heat until they are tender, mixing them with a cereal or a pasta. It is precisely this image of being a humble food that led to legumes being consumed less and less in the post-war period, as they were associated with the misery of the past. They would be replaced by meat, cold cuts, and fish. In recent years, however, there has been a reversal of this trend, thanks to a new sensitivity towards environmental issues and a collective tendency to consume less meat. Among the many kinds of legumes, beans certainly have a privileged role in our gastronomic culture. There are many varieties spread throughout the country, all with different shapes, colors, sizes, flavors, and textures. In Lucca, for example, after a search lasting almost 3 years, 17 traditional varieties have been recovered which can all be traced back to a red bean that has always been grown on these lands. Red beans in the city and in the provinces were not only important for consumption in the family, but were also among the main commodities of exchange with the neighboring territories from which other vegetables and foods came. In various documents from the 18th century onwards, contemporary writers highlight how the preferred areas for cultivation were the flat and foothill areas next to the splendid city of Lucca, which, while perhaps not as well known as Florence or Siena, has a beautiful walled historic center composed of narrow streets and wide squares, in the classic image of the Italian city. The soils of the Lucca countryside allow the beans to develop a delicate flavor and an extreme melt-in-your-mouth texture, which makes them perfect for the preparation of soups or as an accompaniment to vegetable or meat dishes. And if in Tuscany we talk about soup, we cannot fail to mention ribollita, a peasant dish, probably of Florentine origin, which, as the name suggests, first involves cooking soup composed of black cabbage and beans, traditionally cannellini beans, although here we will use the red ones from Lucca, along with any other seasonable vegetables on hand, from tomatoes to potatoes, onion to celery, which is subsequently recooked, or rather ribollita, to which slices of homemade bread are added. But perhaps the best way to discover each secret is to prepare it together. First of all, soak the beans. It will take about 12 hours, and then cook them for a couple of hours with plenty of unsalted water, celery, and parsley. Then clean the vegetables, onions, leeks, celery, carrots, tomatoes, potatoes, and black cabbage, and cut them into pieces. They don't need to be perfectly chopped. Now, put a good quantity of oil in a pan, along with the onion and leeks, and let them cook for a few minutes. Then, add all the vegetables and cover with water. Cook for about an hour. At this point, add salt, add the beans, which you have lightly crushed roughly with a fork, and cook for another half hour. Cut the bread, which should preferably be stale, and place a layer of it and a layer of soup in another pan. Then cook for at least 20 minutes. Let it rest for a while and serve with plenty of Tuscan extra virgin olive oil.